Who wants to rehouse OBTs? I know I don't. Hello Tarantula lovers, I'm Alex and you're watching Tarantula Haven. Today I am rehousing 3 OBTs and I've had them in these little stackable card boxes that I got from Walmart. And when I first put them in here, they were tiny slings and they had plenty of room. Well, they're juveniles now and they need rehousing, and it is something that I've kind of been putting off for a little while. I purposely put them in a larger enclosure when they were very small so that I would minimize the amount of rehousings that I would have to do. But the time has come, and after watching a few rehousings, I know that OBTs are insane. And I know it depends on the individual tarantula, but as a whole, they tend to be very, very crazy. They're extremely fast and they are extremely defensive. So it is not something that I've been looking forward to. I've got my little trusty catch cup. I've got my little bamboo skewer. So hopefully with the 2, I can minimize all the craziness and rehouse them as quickly as possible, as safely as possible into their new enclosures. The enclosure that I'm putting them into is not anything fancy. It is actually a shoebox. And this shoebox, it says glassy shoebox. And I picked these up at the Container Store for a little over $10 a piece, which is pretty cheap. And as it says in the box, glassy shoebox, it is very clear plastic. So that's one of the things that I liked about it. I also like that it's pretty deep so that I can add plenty of substrate, especially for a burrowing species and any kind of terrestrial tarantula that's usually a little bit smaller that you can put in here. It does make a very good enclosure. It has a lid. The lid does not lock, but it does seal pretty tightly to the point that I don't think that an OBT could push it open. If it does, if I do notice that they're messing with the lid and they're able to lift it or anything like that, which I really don't think is going to happen, then most likely I'll drill a little hole on one side or probably both sides and put a pin in there to kind of lock everything in place. But I really don't see that happening, so we'll see what happens. It does have ventilation on the side already pre-drilled on this side and on this side as well. However, that's not adequate ventilation for OBTs, so I went ahead and drilled some extra ventilation on both sides on the ones that I'm using, not this one obviously. And they did change the packaging on these. This is an older one that I've had for a little while. The newer ones have brown label in here instead of the ones with the shoes and stuff on it, but they're the same thing. They're made by the same company, and you can pick them up at the Container Store. And they do make a nice enclosure for a smaller terrestrial tarantula and maybe one that doesn't burrow too much like OBTs. The substrate that I'm using is a mixture of my own personal substrate that I mix myself as well as Exoterra Stone Desert. I wanted to kind of give it that naturalistic look. I didn't put much in here because OBTs tend to web everything, so there's really not much need for any decoration at all. I may add some sticks and extra anchor points in here just so that they can web everything up, because they are prolific webbers and they will make a funnel that goes down into their burrow. But for the most part, they just sit out on top of their webbing unless they get disturbed.
Raise your fist in the air. Raise your fist in the
Tarantula murinus, commonly known as the orange baboon tarantula or the OBT. Because of its commonly defensive disposition, people jokingly refer to it as the orange bitey thing. They have the reputation of being the red devil of the tarantula hobby, to the point of intimidation. Personally, I held off on keeping any for a while because of their reputation, but I found them to be quite enjoyable but very high-strung and, yes, defensive. Females can live up to 15 years and can reach 6 inches in leg span. Males can live up to 4 years and are slightly smaller. The OBT is a tarantula that has been a staple in the hobby for quite some time. They're very common as they are easy to breed, which makes them relatively cheap as well. However, renewed interest is beginning to pick up as this tarantula has a very broad distribution in Africa, and there are color variants that are now in the hobby that collectors are itching to get their hands on. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, but the color variants are as follows: BCF, brown color form; DCF, dark color form; OCF, orange color form; RCF, red color form; TCF, typical color form; and UMV, Usambara Mountains variant. As far as locations are concerned, BCF comes from Tete, Mozambique; DCF, Botswana, Zimbabwe; Kenya, Kigoma, Mikumi; OCF, Usambara Mountains region; RCF, Usambara Mountains region; TCF, Kenya, Mozambique; UMV, Usambara Mountains region. Although when they are being sold, sometimes you will not see them named by their color form, but rather their locale. I've seen them advertised as P. murinus Tete, Kigoma, or Mikumi, etc. I believe the most commonly kept species is the red color form, or the Usambara, because of its bright coloration. Believe it or not, the typical color form is actually more of a tan color with black markings, very similar to the Tarantula lugardi or the Fort Hall baboon. I forgot to press record when I captured this one, so I missed the part where she went up into the catch cup, but she was by far the easiest one. She went right up the catch cup, and when I put her into the enclosure, she ran straight out of the catch cup and right under the cork bark. However, that didn't last very long as she started roaming around the enclosure looking for a way out and quickly started to threat display. And this is the longest I've gotten to see them out and about, so I could confirm that this was a little female, and so was the one prior to this. This last one made me a little bit nervous because I didn't know where it was located, and it had a couple of molts in there that I hadn't taken out, so it was really difficult to get its location. And it also had a couple of funnels where it came out of, so I wasn't really sure which side it was going to try to dart out of, so I really had to kind of find out where it was before I could put the catch cup in place and get it out. And as you can see, this little guy was all fight. He did not want to back off. He just kept fighting with the stick and did not want to go down the catch cup. So it took a little while to get him out of there. And when I finally got him out, I could confirm that this was a little mature male. He had recently matured because he recently molted, so I had no idea until I was able to get a really good look at him because he spent most of his time hidden underneath, or I would see him on the webbing and he would dart into one of his burrows. Here you can clearly see him being dramatic. It was so neat to see him roll over on his back and literally crawled on his back underneath the cork barks to continue his threat display. And here you can get a really good look at his emboli, and those are the male sex organs on a tarantula. And here you can clearly see that they earn their reputation well. They are definitely a spicy tarantula. So there you have it, guys. 3 OBT rehousings, and my trusty catch cup did not fail me. It worked out pretty well. And I was a little bit nervous at the first one just because I didn't know how it was going to react. And you could see they stand their ground. They're all fight, and they earn their reputation well because she did not want to back down. She just kept fighting, and eventually I did get her to go into the enclosure once she realized she was on the ground and she could move around. But then she tried to bolt out the sides and all that kind of stuff. So they're very, very fast and very bolty. So, you know, if I hadn't put the lid on the way she was, she would have been in and right back out. This old male, though, he gave me a fit. He did not want to quit fighting. He really wanted to stand his ground. I guess he wanted to show off for the ladies or something. But yeah, he just stayed in the catch cup. Threat posture, slapping, biting, and even stridulating. I think I don't know if you could, if my microphone picked that up at all. I wish you could have heard it, but it's just a soft little kind of hissing sound. And yeah, he was all fight, and that's kind of what worried me, because a lot of times when they sit there and they fight, then all of a sudden they bolt out. And usually when they bolt, sometimes they have a tendency to run on the outside of the catch cup and then run right up on your arm. So that's when you run into trouble. And but luckily he went into the enclosure, and once he realized that there was something like the substrate and everything, then he just went on in, and he kind of went casually, but he was still all fight. He was still all mad and had his fangs out and everything, and gave me a couple of threat postures there. But yeah, they really earned their reputation. They are feisty little spicy things, and they're just beautiful. They're gorgeous to look at. I can't wait till they web it all up. This little guy, though, he's not going to spend much time in here because he's a mature male, so I'm probably going to send him off to breed if somebody wants him. Or, no, these girls like are too young. Not to mention they're probably sack mates, so I'm not even going to try that. But yeah, he's going to go on to somebody else and hopefully make more little OBT babies so that you guys can buy them in the hobby. And that does it for me tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you want to support this channel, I have a Teespring store where I sell Tarantula Haven merchandise. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, and a very special thank you and welcome to my newest patron, Kathy Arnold. Thank you so much. Your support is very much appreciated. And if you would like to become a patron yourself, I have a link down below in the description, as well as all the others. Until next time, keep loving them tarantulas, even if they're OBT.